Have you ever stopped to think about what truly distinguishes a wise woman from a foolish one? It's not just about intelligence, education, or even life experience. It all comes down to mindset, actions, and the ability to learn from life's lessons. The ancient Stoics understood this well, offering timeless insights on recognizing and overcoming foolishness. This isn't about criticism, it's about self-awareness and personal growth. Today, we'll explore 6 key signs of a foolish woman and how applying Stoic principles can help us rise above them. As we go through each sign, take a moment to reflect. Do any of these feel familiar? No one is perfect, and wisdom isn't about never making mistakes. It's about recognizing them and striving to grow. Sign number 1, prioritizing appearance over character. Imagine this. You meet a woman who is always dressed perfectly, with flawless makeup and an Instagram feed full of picture-perfect moments. On the surface, she seems confident and successful. But as you get to know her, you realize there's not much depth beneath the surface. Her conversations revolve around the latest fashion trends, celebrity gossip, and how to take the perfect selfie. She is admired for her looks, but struggles to form meaningful relationships. In today's society, the pressure to look good is greater than ever. Social media bombards us with images of idealized beauty, and many people feel compelled to chase unrealistic standards. Beauty influencers, cosmetic procedures, and photo editing apps contribute to a culture where appearance is prioritized over substance. This phenomenon is not limited to women. Men, too, are increasingly pressured to maintain a certain physique or style. The Stoic philosophers, including Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, emphasize that true beauty is not found in one's physical appearance, but in one's virtues. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." In other words, instead of worrying about how we appear to others, we should focus on being good, just, and wise. A person's value is determined by their character, their kindness, honesty, resilience, and wisdom, not by how they look. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, warned against the dangers of attaching one's self-worth to external factors, such as appearance. He argued that we should focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and moral integrity, rather than superficial aspects of life. I once knew a woman, let's call her Sarah. She was admired for her beauty and had a glamorous lifestyle. Her social media was filled with luxurious vacations, designer outfits, and meticulously staged photos. Many envied her life, believing she had it all. But deep down, Sarah felt empty. Her confidence was entirely dependent on validation from others. Whenever she received compliments on her looks, she felt good. Whenever someone criticized her or if she had a bad hair day, her self-esteem crumbled. As she aged, she noticed that the attention she once received began to fade. Her sense of self-worth started to erode. It wasn't until Sarah shifted her focus inward that she found true fulfillment. She started reading philosophy, volunteering at local charities, and developing meaningful relationships. Instead of obsessing over likes and followers, she found joy in self-improvement and acts of kindness. Over time, she became genuinely confident, not because of how she looked, but because of who she had become. Why prioritizing appearance over character is dangerous? 1, it creates superficial relationships. When we prioritize appearance, we attract people who value us for shallow reasons. This leads to relationships based on external validation rather than deep emotional connections. Over time, such relationships can feel empty and unsatisfying. 2, it leads to a fragile sense of self-worth. If your self-esteem is tied to your appearance, any change, aging, weight fluctuations, or societal trends can cause significant distress. True confidence comes from something unchanging, your values, skills, and integrity. 3, it distracts from personal growth. Spending excessive time, money, and energy on appearance can take away from developing important life skills, such as emotional intelligence, resilience, and wisdom. A well-groomed exterior means little if the inner self remains underdeveloped. 4, it encourages constant comparison. Social media fuels a cycle of comparison, making it easy to feel inadequate. No matter how attractive someone is, there will always be someone younger, fitter, or more stylish. This endless pursuit of perfection leads to dissatisfaction and anxiety. How to overcome this trap? 1, Shift your focus from looks to character. Instead of spending hours on your appearance, dedicate time to improving your character. Ask yourself, am I as concerned with my kindness as I am with my makeup or clothing? Do I work as hard on my patience as I do on my hairstyle? Am I as disciplined with my integrity as I am with my fitness routine? 2. Practice gratitude for your inner qualities. Make a habit of appreciating aspects of yourself that have nothing to do with looks. Each morning, list 3 things you love about your character, such as your resilience, your kindness, or your creativity. This helps rewire your mindset to value internal attributes over external ones. 3. Seek deeper forms of validation. Instead of relying on likes, compliments, or external validation, find fulfillment in personal growth. Read books that expand your mind, engage in meaningful conversations, and focus on developing wisdom and inner peace. 4. Surround yourself with people who value substance. The people you associate with influence your priorities. If your friends constantly talk about appearance and status, you may feel pressured to do the same. Seek friendships with people who appreciate you for who you are, not just how you look. 5. Engage in meaningful activities. Volunteer, learn a new skill, or engage in hobbies that have nothing to do with aesthetics. These activities bring fulfillment and help you develop a well-rounded identity beyond your looks. 6. Study Stoic philosophy. Stoicism offers practical wisdom for living a meaningful life. Reading texts like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius or the Enchiridion by Epictetus can help you develop a mindset that values inner strength over external appearance. Imagine a world where beauty was measured by kindness, wisdom, and courage rather than physical features. In such a world, we would prioritize self-improvement, personal growth, and meaningful contributions to society. While we may not be able to change society overnight, we can change ourselves by embracing this mindset. The next time you find yourself obsessing over your reflection or comparing yourself to someone on social media, pause and reflect. Remind yourself that your true worth lies in your character, not your appearance. As the Stoics taught, external things come and go, but virtues are lasting. In the end, the most beautiful people are those who radiate kindness, wisdom, and authenticity. Strive to be one of them. Sign number 2, avoiding self-responsibility. Have you ever met someone who always has an excuse? Their failures are never their fault. It's always because of bad luck, other people, or circumstances beyond their control. These individuals consistently avoid taking ownership of their actions and decisions, often blaming external forces for their misfortunes. At first glance, this may seem harmless. After all, life can be unfair. However, a persistent failure to accept responsibility can be detrimental. It keeps people stuck in cycles of negativity, prevents growth, and ultimately disempowers them from making meaningful changes in their lives. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond." This core Stoic idea highlights the difference between external events, which we often cannot control, and our reactions to them, which we always can control. Instead of focusing on what happens to us, Stoicism urges us to focus on how we respond. The moment we relinquish responsibility for our actions, we hand over control of our lives to external forces. By contrast, when we take ownership of our decisions, we regain personal power and agency. Avoiding self-responsibility doesn't always manifest as blatant excuse-making. Sometimes it takes on subtler forms. 1. Blaming others. My boss never gives me a chance to succeed. My parents didn't raise me right, so that's why I struggle. The economy is terrible, so I can't get ahead. Blaming others may provide temporary relief, but it doesn't solve anything. It externalizes the problem instead of leading to personal growth. 2. Playing the victim. Life is just unfair to me. I never get lucky. People always take advantage of me. While misfortunes do happen, dwelling in victimhood keeps us powerless. The more we see ourselves as helpless, the less likely we are to take action. 3. Justifying inaction. I can't start a business because I don't have enough money. I can't improve my health because I have bad genetics. I can't learn a new skill because I'm too old. These justifications create self-imposed limitations. The truth is, most barriers have solutions if we are willing to seek them out. I once worked with a woman who was deeply unhappy in her career. She complained about her boss, the economy, and even her upbringing. believing these factors were the sole reasons for her struggles. She would say things like, "If I had been born into a richer family, I wouldn't be struggling now. My boss never appreciates my work, so why even try? I'm just not lucky like other people." She remained stagnant in her job, never seeking ways to improve her skills or advance her career. Meanwhile, another colleague faced nearly identical challenges. However, instead of blaming external factors, she took a different approach. She acknowledged her challenges but didn't let them define her. She invested in learning new skills outside of work. She sought opportunities instead of waiting for them to appear. Over time, she earned promotions, expanded her network, and eventually transitioned into a better job. The key difference? One person took responsibility for her circumstances, while the other avoided it. What happens when we habitually avoid responsibility? The consequences can be severe. Lack of growth. Without personal responsibility, improvement becomes impossible. Persistent frustration. Blaming others might provide short-term comfort, but it ultimately leads to dissatisfaction. Missed opportunities. Success requires effort, and avoiding responsibility means missing out on valuable opportunities. Damaged relationships. Others may grow frustrated with habitual excuse-making and avoidance. The good news? Responsibility is a skill that can be cultivated. Here are practical ways to reclaim control. 1. Shift your mindset from victim to owner. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" ask, "What can I do to improve this situation?" 2. Adopt a growth mindset. Dr. Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset shows that people who believe in their ability to improve are more successful. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," try, "I can't do this yet, but I can learn." 3. Focus on solutions, not excuses. When faced with challenges, make a habit of listing possible solutions instead of focusing on why something won't work. 4. Own your mistakes and learn from them. Making mistakes is normal, but blaming others for them is not. Instead of hiding from mistakes, analyze them and ask, "What can I learn from this?" 5. Take small daily actions. Big changes start with small steps. Set daily goals for self-improvement, even if they seem minor. 6. Surround yourself with accountable people. The people we spend time with influence us greatly. Seek out friends, mentors, or colleagues who take responsibility for their lives. The Stoics developed exercises to help cultivate self-responsibility. 1. Journaling. Each night, reflect on your day. Ask, did I take responsibility for my actions today? Where did I blame others instead of looking for solutions? What can I improve tomorrow? 2. Negative visualization. Imagine the worst-case scenario in a challenge you face. How would you handle it if you had no one to blame? This exercise builds resilience and self-reliance. 3. Voluntary discomfort. The Stoics practiced exposing themselves to discomfort to strengthen their resilience. Try a small challenge like waking up an hour earlier, fasting for a day, or exercising when you don't feel like it. These actions reinforce personal responsibility. Avoiding self-responsibility may seem easier in the short term, but it comes at a great cost. Stagnation, frustration, and missed opportunities. By taking ownership of our lives, we regain power, cultivate resilience, and move towards success. As the Stoic Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The choice is yours. Remain a passive observer in your own life, or take responsibility and shape your own destiny. The path of responsibility is not always easy, but it is the only path that leads to true freedom and fulfillment. Sign number 3. Overvaluing others' opinions. In today's hyper-connected world, where social media platforms serve as public arenas for judgment and validation, it is easy to fall into the trap of caring too much about what others think. The constant exposure to curated lives, opinions, and expectations can make us feel as though our worth is determined by external validation. However, living for approval comes at a high cost. We lose sight of our own values, desires, and personal truths. Overvaluing others' opinions can prevent us from making authentic choices, leading to regret and unfulfilled potential. The Stoic philosophers, known for their emphasis on self-control and inner peace, warned against the dangers of seeking external approval. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, famously wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This paradox highlights the absurdity of prioritizing external judgments over our own inner wisdom. If we truly love ourselves, why do we allow the fleeting and often uninformed opinions of others to dictate our decisions? Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, advised, if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. This means that if we want to grow, we must be willing to let go of the need for validation. True wisdom and progress come from focusing on what matters to us rather than on how others perceive us. I once knew a woman named Sarah who had built a successful career in finance. However, deep down, she had always dreamed of being a writer. Every time she considered making the transition, she was bombarded with doubts, not from within, but from external voices. What if it doesn't work out? Her friends asked. You have a stable job. Why would you risk it? Her parents reminded her. Years passed, and Sarah remained in finance, despite feeling increasingly unfulfilled. When she finally reached retirement age, she looked back with regret. She had let other people's opinions dictate her choices. The worst part? Many of the people whose opinions she had feared barely remembered those conversations. Yet she had spent decades living according to their expectations rather than her own dreams. Sarah's story is not unique. Many of us struggle with the weight of societal expectations, family pressures, and the fear of being judged. But the truth is, the people we worry about impressing often do not care as much as we think. Even if they do, their judgments are based on their perspectives, not our realities. There are several psychological and social reasons why people place too much importance on external validation. Evolutionary instincts. As social creatures, humans evolved in tribes where acceptance was critical for survival. Being ostracized from the group meant danger, so our brains are wired to seek approval. Cultural conditioning. From a young age, we are taught to seek praise from parents, teachers, and peers. Good behavior is rewarded with approval, while deviation is often met with criticism. Fear of rejection. Many people equate disagreement or disapproval with rejection. This fear can be deeply ingrained, making it difficult to make independent choices. The social media effect. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok amplify the need for validation through likes, comments, and shares. The more approval we receive, the more we crave it, creating a cycle of dependency. When we prioritize external validation over our own values, we face several negative consequences. Loss of authenticity. Trying to please everyone often means suppressing our true thoughts, desires, and beliefs. Increased anxiety. Worrying about how others perceive us can lead to chronic stress and decision paralysis. Missed opportunities. Fear of judgment can hold us back from taking risks that could lead to personal and professional growth. Regret. Looking back on life, we may realize that we made choices based on what others wanted rather than what we truly desired. If you find yourself constantly worrying about others' opinions, there are concrete steps you can take to break free. 1. Clarify your values. Ask yourself, am I making choices based on my values or to impress others? Take time to reflect on what truly matters to you. Write down your core values and use them as a guide for decision-making. When faced with a tough choice, ask yourself, does this align with my values? If the answer is yes, move forward confidently. 2. Practice self-validation. Instead of seeking external approval, cultivate the habit of self-validation. When you accomplish something, acknowledge your achievement internally rather than relying on others' praise. Keep a journal where you celebrate your progress and remind yourself of your worth. 3. Develop a growth mindset. Realize that making mistakes or facing criticism is part of growth. No matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. The key is to focus on learning and evolving rather than on avoiding disapproval. Number 4, limit social media exposure. If you find that social media increases your need for validation, consider taking a break or setting boundaries. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate and focus on consuming content that inspires and uplifts you. 5. Accept that not everyone will agree with you, and that's okay. No matter what path you choose, there will always be critics. Instead of fearing their opinions, accept that disagreement is natural. Some of the most successful and respected people in history, Albert Einstein, Rosa Parks, Steve Jobs, faced massive opposition before they changed the world. 6. Surround yourself with supportive people. Find people who uplift and encourage you rather than those who judge or impose their expectations. Having a strong support system can make it easier to stay true to yourself. 7. Develop an internal locus of control. Psychologists define an internal locus of control as the belief that you are responsible for your own life and outcomes. When you shift your mindset from external validation to internal responsibility, you empower yourself to make decisions that align with your goals and values. Overvaluing others' opinions is a common struggle, but it does not have to define your life. By embracing Stoic wisdom, clarifying your values, and practicing self-validation, you can free yourself from the need for external approval. Remember, you are the only person who will live your life. So make sure you are living it for yourself, not for the expectations of others. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. In other words, do not waste your energy trying to please others. Instead, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Your true worth is not determined by what others think, but by how you live according to your values. The sooner you embrace this, the freer and more fulfilled you will be. Sign 4. Emotional instability and overreacting. Do you overreact to small things? Do you know someone who lets small things ruin their entire day? Perhaps you see it in yourself. A rude comment from a stranger, getting caught in a traffic jam, or dealing with a minor inconvenience can sometimes feel overwhelming. Instead of brushing it off, emotions spiral out of control, leading to frustration, anger, or even despair. We all experience emotional reactions, but when small events cause significant emotional distress, it might be a sign of emotional instability. This reactionary behavior can create unnecessary suffering, damage relationships, and hinder personal growth. Understanding why we react this way and learning how to cultivate emotional resilience is essential for a balanced and fulfilling life. The ancient Stoics, known for their wisdom on handling life's challenges, believed that emotional stability is not about suppressing emotions, but about managing our reactions to external events. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, stated, "A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is." This quote highlights a fundamental Stoic principle. Most of our suffering does not come from external events themselves, but from our reactions to them. In other words, it is not the traffic jam that ruins your day, but your interpretation of it. It is not the rude comment that hurts you, but your decision to let it affect your emotions. The Stoics taught that external events are outside our control, but our perceptions, judgments, and reactions are within our control. By changing how we interpret situations, we can maintain inner peace, regardless of external circumstances. Understanding the root causes of overreaction can help us address and manage our emotions more effectively. Here are a few common reasons why people tend to overreact. 1. Lack of emotional regulation. Some people have not developed the skills to regulate their emotions. They may react impulsively to negative stimuli instead of processing their emotions rationally. Emotional regulation is like a muscle. If not exercised, it remains weak. 2. Unresolved past trauma. Past experiences can shape how we respond to present situations. If someone has experienced betrayal, rejection, or emotional wounds in the past, minor triggers can evoke strong emotional responses. 3. Stress and fatigue. When we are stressed, tired, or overwhelmed, our ability to think clearly diminishes. This can lead to heightened emotional sensitivity and increased likelihood of overreacting to small problems. 4. Seeking control. Overreacting can be a subconscious attempt to regain control in situations where we feel powerless. When things do not go as expected, some people react emotionally as a way to assert dominance or express frustration. 5. Social conditioning and expectations. Some individuals grow up in environments where emotional expression is encouraged or even exaggerated. If they have seen family members or peers overreact, they may have learned this behavior as a normal response. If you recognize that you tend to overreact or struggle with emotional instability, there are practical steps you can take to develop a more balanced mindset. These Stoic-inspired techniques can help cultivate emotional resilience and improve your overall well-being. 1. Pause before reacting. One of the most effective ways to manage emotions is to create a buffer between stimulus and response. When faced with a frustrating situation, pause before reacting. take a deep breath, count to 10, or step away for a moment. This small act can prevent impulsive reactions and allow for a more thoughtful response. 2. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week? A year? Many things that upset us in the moment are insignificant in the grand scheme of life. The next time you feel yourself overreacting, ask, will I remember this a week from now? Will this still matter in a year? Is this truly worth my peace of mind? Putting things into perspective can help you realize that most frustrations are temporary and unworthy of excessive emotional investment. Number 3, focus on what you can control. The Stoics emphasize the importance of distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. You cannot control traffic, the weather, or how others behave, but you can control your reaction. Shifting your focus to what you can influence helps prevent feelings of helplessness and frustration. 4. Reframe negative situations. Instead of viewing inconveniences as personal attacks or disasters, try to reframe them. For example, instead of thinking, this traffic is ruining my day, say, this is an opportunity to listen to an audiobook or practice patience. Instead of thinking, that person was rude to me, say, they might be having a bad day and it has nothing to do with me. Reframing allows you to interpret events in a way that minimizes emotional distress. 5. Practice gratitude. It is difficult to overreact negatively when you cultivate gratitude. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you are grateful for. Even in difficult situations, find something positive. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is wrong to what is right. 6. Strengthen your mental fortitude. Building resilience takes practice. Consider engaging in activities that challenge you, such as cold showers to build tolerance to discomfort, meditation to train mindfulness and awareness of emotions, reading Stoic philosophy to internalize principles of emotional stability. Over time, these practices can help you become less reactive and more composed. 7. Journal your reactions. Keeping a journal of moments when you overreact can help identify patterns. Write down what triggered your reaction, how you responded, and how you could have handled it better. Self-reflection fosters self-awareness and improvement. 8. Seek support and guidance. If emotional instability significantly affects your life, consider seeking guidance from a therapist, mentor, or trusted friend. Sometimes, an outside perspective can provide valuable insights and strategies for managing emotions. Emotional instability and overreacting to small things can lead to unnecessary stress and unhappiness. However, by applying Stoic principles and practical strategies, you can develop greater emotional resilience and control over your reactions. Remember, it is not external events that disturb you, but your interpretation of them. By choosing how you respond, you reclaim your peace of mind. Emotional stability is not about suppressing feelings, but about mastering them. Next time you feel the urge to overreact, pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with your highest self. In doing so, you will cultivate a life of balance, wisdom, and inner peace. Sign number 5, materialism and greed. Many people believe that happiness comes from money, status, and possessions. Society constantly reinforces this idea. Advertisements promising that a new car, a bigger house, or designer clothing will bring fulfillment. But how many rich people do you know who are still miserable? The pursuit of material wealth, while not inherently bad, often leads to a never-ending cycle of desire. No matter how much one accumulates, there is always something new to chase. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca, warned against placing our happiness in external possessions. Epictetus taught, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This idea shifts the focus from endless accumulation to contentment. If our happiness depends on external things, then it is fragile. A financial crisis, an economic downturn, or even a personal misfortune can strip away wealth in an instant. But if we cultivate an internal sense of wealth through wisdom, character, and self-mastery, we build a form of prosperity that can never be taken from us. Materialism often stems from a deep-seated belief that external achievements define our worth. This belief is reinforced by social media, where people showcase their best moments, luxury lifestyles, and seemingly perfect lives. This illusion creates an endless comparison trap. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon and found that materialistic individuals tend to have lower life satisfaction, higher levels of anxiety and depression, and weaker social connections. Why? Because materialism creates a dependency on external validation. The thrill of a new purchase fades quickly, leaving a void that demands to be filled again and again. A friend of mine spent years chasing luxury. She worked tirelessly to afford designer bags, the latest tech gadgets, and high-end vacations. Each new purchase gave her a temporary boost of happiness, but it never lasted. Over time, she felt empty despite her material success. It wasn't until she shifted her focus toward meaningful relationships, personal growth, and experiences that she found true contentment. This is a common story. Many people on their deathbeds do not regret not buying more things. They regret not spending more time with loved ones, not pursuing their passions, and not living with authenticity. Breaking free from materialism doesn't mean rejecting all forms of wealth or comfort. Instead, it means shifting your mindset so that material possessions no longer define your happiness. Here's how. 1. Practice gratitude. One of the most effective ways to counter materialism is to appreciate what you already have. Instead of focusing on what's missing, take time each day to recognize the abundance in your life. Studies have shown that people who practice gratitude experience greater life satisfaction and less desire for unnecessary material goods. 2. Shift your focus to experiences. Research indicates that spending money on experiences such as traveling, learning new skills, or spending time with loved ones brings more lasting happiness than buying things. Unlike possessions, experiences become a part of who we are and create memories that enrich our lives. 3. Redefine success. Instead of measuring success by wealth, try measuring it by wisdom, resilience, kindness, and growth. What legacy do you want to leave behind? What kind of person do you aspire to be? True success is about living a life aligned with your values, not just accumulating material wealth. 4. Declutter your life. Minimalism is a practical response to materialism. Simplifying your possessions can help you realize how little you actually need to be happy. Decluttering also creates mental clarity, as physical clutter often leads to stress and overwhelm. 5. Detach from social comparisons. Social media can be a breeding ground for materialistic desires. If you find yourself constantly comparing your life to others, consider taking a break or curating your feed to include more meaningful content. 6. Invest in inner wealth. Rather than accumulating material things, focus on accumulating wisdom, self-discipline, and inner peace. Read books, develop new skills, engage in deep conversations, and cultivate mindfulness. The more you invest in your inner world, the less you'll seek fulfillment from external sources. The Stoics did not advocate for complete rejection of wealth. Seneca himself was wealthy, but he emphasized that wealth should be used wisely and should never control us. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Money can be a tool for freedom, security, and generosity. The key is to ensure that you control money, rather than letting money control you. Materialism and greed are illusions that promise happiness but often lead to dissatisfaction. The more we chase external wealth, the more we realize that it can never truly satisfy us. Instead, lasting happiness comes from within, from cultivating gratitude, building strong relationships, and focusing on what truly matters. By embracing the wisdom of the Stoics, we can free ourselves from the endless pursuit of more and find peace in what we already have. True wealth is not in possessions, but in the richness of the soul. Sign number 6, avoiding self-reflection and growth. A foolish woman resists self-examination. She avoids looking at her flaws or learning from mistakes. She is defensive when criticized and quick to blame others for her problems. This resistance creates a stagnant life, one where personal growth is limited, relationships are strained, and fulfillment remains elusive. Without self-reflection, there is no growth. Without growth, life becomes a cycle of repeated mistakes and missed opportunities. Why people avoid self-reflection? Many people resist self-reflection because it is uncomfortable. Looking deeply at ourselves requires acknowledging our shortcomings, which can be painful. It forces us to confront past mistakes, regrets, and areas where we fall short of our ideals. For some, this discomfort leads to denial, distraction, or even self-deception. Here are some common reasons why people avoid self-reflection. Fear of facing the truth. Admitting personal flaws or mistakes can be hard. It challenges our self-image and forces us to acknowledge that we are not perfect. Ego protection. The ego thrives on self-preservation. When faced with criticism or personal failure, it may resist accepting responsibility. Cognitive dissonance. When actions do not align with beliefs, people often rationalize their behavior instead of changing it. Distraction culture. Social media, entertainment, and constant stimulation leave little time for deep self-examination. Lack of tools or guidance. Some people simply do not know how to reflect effectively or do not have role models who encourage self-awareness. The Stoics believed that self-examination was essential for wisdom and personal development. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, kept a journal where he reflected on his thoughts and actions daily. He constantly asked himself, "What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? How can I improve tomorrow?" This practice was not about self-criticism, but about self-awareness and progress. The goal was to refine his character, cultivate virtue, and become a better leader and person. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, advised his students to examine their actions every evening. He encouraged them to ask, "What mistakes did I make? What lessons can I learn? What should I do differently next time?" By making self-reflection a habit, the Stoics turned life into a continuous learning process. They believed that true wisdom comes from understanding oneself and using that knowledge to make better decisions. If avoiding self-reflection leads to stagnation, then practicing it leads to growth. Here are some practical ways to develop self-awareness and personal growth. 1. Keep a journal. Journaling is one of the most effective tools for self-reflection. Writing about your thoughts, emotions, and daily experiences allows you to process them in a deeper way. It helps you identify patterns in your behavior, recognize areas for improvement, and track progress over time. How to start journaling. Write about your daily experiences, thoughts, and emotions. Ask yourself reflective questions, e.g., what did I learn today? How did I handle challenges? Review past entries to see patterns in your behavior. 2. Seek honest feedback. Sometimes we cannot see our own blind spots. Seeking feedback from trusted friends, mentors, or family members provides an outside perspective on our strengths and weaknesses. How to seek constructive feedback. Ask specific questions like, what's one thing I could improve? Be open-minded and avoid getting defensive. Act on the feedback by making conscious changes. 3. Embrace discomfort. Growth often happens in discomfort. Avoiding hard truths or uncomfortable situations stunts personal development. Facing challenges head-on builds resilience and wisdom. Ways to embrace discomfort. Try new experiences that challenge your comfort zone. Reflect on past failures and see them as learning opportunities. Accept criticism as a tool for self-improvement. 4. Practice daily self-examination. Make self-reflection a daily habit. Set aside time each night to review your actions and decisions. Self-examination questions. What went well today? Where did I struggle? What can I do better tomorrow? Did my actions align with my values? 5. Read and learn constantly. Self-growth is a lifelong journey. Reading books on philosophy, psychology, and personal development exposes you to new ideas and perspectives. Recommended reads for self-reflection: Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, The Road Less Travelled by M. Scott Peck. 6. Meditate and practice mindfulness. Meditation helps cultivate awareness and presence. It allows you to observe your thoughts without judgment and gain clarity on your emotions and behaviors. Simple meditation practices. Spend 5 to 10 minutes daily focusing on your breath. Reflect on your thoughts and emotions without reacting to them. Use guided meditation apps if you need help getting started. 7. Take responsibility for your life. A foolish person blames others for their problems. A wise person takes ownership of their actions and choices. Self-reflection is not just about identifying weaknesses, but about taking proactive steps to improve. Ways to take responsibility. Acknowledge your mistakes without making excuses. Set personal goals for growth and follow through. Learn from past experiences instead of repeating them. The benefits of self-reflection and growth. When practiced regularly, self-reflection leads to greater self-awareness, understanding your strengths, weaknesses, and motivations, improved decision-making, Making choices based on wisdom, not impulse. Stronger relationships, being more aware of how your actions affect others. Increased resilience, learning from setbacks and adapting to challenges. A more fulfilling life, aligning your actions with your values and goals. Avoiding self-reflection keeps a person trapped in ignorance, stagnation, and repeated mistakes. A wise person embraces self-examination as a tool for growth. By journaling, seeking feedback, embracing discomfort, and practicing mindfulness, anyone can develop greater wisdom and self-awareness. In the words of Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. Take the time to reflect, learn, and grow, because wisdom is the key to a meaningful and fulfilling life. The journey to wisdom isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Recognizing these 6 signs in yourself doesn't mean you're a foolish woman. It means you're self-aware enough to grow. Self-awareness is the first step toward transformation, and every moment presents an opportunity to make better choices. Wisdom is cultivated through experience, reflection, and intentional action. By acknowledging areas where you can improve, you take control of your own growth. It's not about avoiding mistakes entirely, but about learning from them and moving forward with greater clarity and strength. Growth comes from small, consistent changes, choosing to respond rather than react, setting healthy boundaries, or simply practicing patience and self-compassion. So which of these 6 signs resonated with you the most? What's one small change you can make today to become wiser, stronger, and more in control of your life? Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to a more empowered version of yourself. Let's discuss in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching Golden Years Balance, where wisdom meets wellness. See you in the next video.